welcome back to the Mad Worker Show. So today I want to react to a video I found not too long ago about a woman who is talking about how Trump's tariffs had an impact on her business. She actually appeared on CNN a couple of times, but I think somehow she came into light again due to obviously the enforcement of the tariffs from like early beginning of August. So yeah, let's watch the video and let's see what she has to say. Okay, here we go.
We have 3 months worth of inventory sitting at my factory that I cannot bring to the US. I have maybe 2 months worth left in my warehouse in Minnesota. And when that's gone, I have no more revenue. I cannot pay my employees. I cannot pay my bills. I cannot pay the loans, which I have leveraged my house against. So we could lose our house. I do not have the $230,000 that were just immediately dropped in front of me to get my products into the US. So I am asking, begging for support from both sides.
Here's what a lot of people don't understand, right? So first of all, and probably I'm going to be one of those people who this has been said multiple times that tariffs are not something that the country pays, you pay it, right? It's a tax on Americans, not a tax on China or whichever country. It doesn't work like that. When a Brazilian business, a Chinese business imports goods to the United States, they get charged a certain amount for importing those goods. But essentially, what ultimately happens, people like her, she's paying the tariffs, right? She's charged more because she's essentially buying those products. And now there's a hefty tax because tariffs are essentially a form of tax on those products. And so I've watched some of her videos, so I know that she has an e-commerce business, and e-commerce is something closer to me, so I can kind of comment on it because I've been working with e-commerce businesses for the past 8 years. The margins, especially for the smaller businesses, are not that great. Okay, they don't have great margins. If you're around at 8 figures, maybe because you have good deals with your supplier and whatnot, they're going to give you, if you order more, so you order, higher volume, then you can have better margins because you're going to get the product cheaper, and that obviously helps. But that only comes at certain scale, right? So with her being a small business owner, she's only going to be able to charge so much for her products because at the end of the day, you cannot, if you have an e-commerce business, just because you want to have, let's say, a 50% profit margin, people might not pay for that because at the end of the day, what really matters is how much you ultimately charge, right? How much do your products cost? If they're too expensive, people are not going to buy them, right? So when, let's say, a 20% tariff is being put on whatever you have to order from a different country, right? Whether it's like China or whichever else, or whichever other country. When that happens, let's say if we're talking about a 20% increase, what that does is that eats into your profit margins. And when we're talking about, let's say, an increase in corporation tax, it's never going to be 20%, right? That will never happen. But this is basically a very aggressive form of tax. Okay? And when, let's say, you're a small business and you're operating with thin margins, again, probably she's doing, I don't know, what like 30%, between, let's say, 15 to 30% margins. You get hit by something like this. With e-commerce, you got to be very careful with your cash flow, right? You got to be very careful with your inventory because if If you have cash flow issues, you cannot order more of your products. And when you don't have products, obviously, if anything is out of stock, that will have an impact on your marketing and everything else, right? Because a lot of these businesses are running ads, both Meta ads and Google ads. So you need to have budget set aside in order for you to be able to run those ads, right? And then when something like this happens, maybe you have to stop running ads. But when you stop running ads and you have to pay for inventory, then obviously everything stops, because more often than not, in order to get new customers for these businesses, those customers are going to come from either Google or Meta, as those are the primary sources. Even when you scale a business up to like 7-8 figures, that's basically going to be the ultimate revenue source for you. Obviously, some influencer marketing is going to be at play as well, or alternatively, if you're pretty decent at TikTok, then that could also be an alternative source of revenue for you. Now, however, what you can obviously what you have the most impact on is, or leverage over, is going to be your paid media marketing channels. Those are going to be the most effective, because let's say you increase advertising spend by 20%, then obviously if you do your job well, then hopefully you're going to see sales increasing by 20% as well, right? Like just really breaking it down and talking about it plainly, right? So that's why it's really important for people to understand how this can really fuck businesses over big time, like big time, right? Because an increase like this is not something a business normally expects, and it can be done. Trust me, I worked with enough e-commerce businesses before. If something like this happens, it can literally make a business bankrupt. Like that's it. Like they can be gone in 2 months, 3 months, because cash flow is so important for these businesses. So when you hit them with tariffs, this is the result.
Of our both parties to support our small businesses and get rid of these tariffs on US owned small businesses. It doesn't just affect me. When I go out of business, it affects all of those contractors that I pay to help me with my business, all those American owned businesses, my trucking company that brings me my container, the bookkeepers and accountants and marketing teams that work with me. They now don't get to have the revenue they're getting from me, and I'm just one business that's at risk of going out of business. There are thousands of us. So this is hurting more than just people importing from China.
I think that one of the things that drives me the most crazy.
Okay. So to her point, when the moment she's not going to be able to pay her contractors and employees, obviously that will have an impact on everyday people, right? And there are a lot of small businesses that are employing people in the United States. Not only her business, it could be a business near you. Because just imagine, for the longest time, global trade has been optimized and made efficient, right? If a country is better at producing certain products, well, those countries are going to produce them, right? However, these tariffs, what a lot of people don't understand about them, like it's not like you can just build factories in the US in like 2 months. Even larger businesses, like let's say if they're determined to provide more jobs for people in the US, sure, that's fine. But how long is it going to take? It's going to take some time. And what about the damage that will be caused? Because sure, if there were social safety nets for these people, that lady, her family, and her employees and contractors, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Okay, maybe they can apply for benefit. Oh, but wait a second. There are no benefits. There are no social safety nets. So if she goes out of business, if she loses her house, that's it. She's basically homeless, unless somehow she can apply for loans or whatever, or if she gets help from friends or whatever. And I'm sure she's going to, obviously she doesn't want her family to be homeless, but just imagine not everyone has the social support needed at times like this. So by making it difficult for US businesses, apparently we're doing America first, right? At least like that's what we've been told. But it's like when the average person is voting for something like this, right? If you're not working with US businesses, if you don't understand the day-to-day operations of these businesses, you will obviously not understand that something like this can fuck them like hard, and something like this can happen, and there could be serious consequences, because again, there are a lot of thousands of small US businesses that are employing a lot of people, and those people could lose their jobs. And it's not like if all of a sudden they're all going to lose their jobs, like there's not going to be enough new jobs created in order to reduce unemployment rate. And yeah, so I don't know how this is going to help Americans in any shape or form. I feel these tariffs are extremely bad for the country. And yeah, here we go. Like, there's a personal anecdote. She's literally saying that she's going to lose her business because of these tariffs. $200,000 is a lot of money these days. It's not like she can just, I don't know, whip it out from somewhere. Like, it's impossible. Like, the math is not mathing.
About this is that we have big companies like Apple who have a connection in the White House. They know who to call. They have the wherewithal to give $1 million to President Trump's inauguration ceremony. They get seated right up there on the dais on Inauguration Day, when the people standing with us today have no capacity to accomplish that. And what happens? Apple gets a carve out, and these guys are left holding the bag. And that is wrong, and we cannot put up with it.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Yeah, let me know what you think. Please give this video a like. Also, leave some comments below. Let's have a conversation about this. Do you agree with these tariffs? Do you think they're going to help in the long term, and maybe we just need to hold on and just take the short-term pain? Or do you feel that the tariffs are just not making sense? Yeah, let me know in the comments. Also, please subscribe to the channel. It would really help me out, and I'll see you around.